The morning was quiet on set. Cameras rested like sleeping giants, and the lights were still warming up, casting a soft glow across the massive soundstage. The crew members moved slowly, sipping coffee, checking cables, whispering about the long day ahead. Armas sat alone in her trailer, staring into the mirror. Her face was flawless as always, but today her eyes were tired, swollen from crying the night before. No one knew what she was carrying. Not really. Outside, everyone saw the beautiful actress, the rising star, the graceful woman with a dazzling smile, but inside, she felt like she was falling apart. The pressure, the expectations, the endless demands, it was getting too much. And today, she had to film one of the most emotional scenes of the movie. She was supposed to break down on camera, but the truth was, she already had. It's just not where anyone could see. She had thought about calling in sick. She had thought about locking the trailer door and not coming out. But then a soft knock came. Anna. The voice was gentle, familiar. She hesitated, wiped her eyes quickly, and opened the door. Keanu Reeves stood there, holding a paper cup of tea in one hand and a small smile in the other. "You okay?" he asked softly. Anna nodded, but it was a lie. She looked down. "Yeah, just tired." Keanu didn't push. He stepped inside and placed the tea on the small table near the couch. He didn't say much, just sat down beside her. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like a space where she could breathe. "We can take it slow today," he finally said. "You don't have to do anything alone." Anna felt something break inside. Not in a bad way, but in a way that allowed air to reach places that had been locked up tight. She wanted to cry again, but she held it in. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu nodded. "Whatever it is, you don't have to carry it by yourself." Those words stayed with her all day. When the cameras rolled and she stood on set, surrounded by lights and lenses, she felt the old weight return. The scene was intense. Her character had lost everything: her love, her family, her home. She had to scream, fall to her knees, cry out in despair. As the director called action, Anna tried. She opened her mouth to scream. She tried to cry, but nothing came out, just silence. Her body locked, her throat closed. The emotion was too real. She wasn't acting anymore. She was reliving something private, something she hadn't told anyone. Her father had passed away 2 weeks ago. No one knew. She hadn't shared it because the studio didn't want delays. She hadn't even attended the funeral. Cut. The director's voice echoed. Frustration, confusion. Anna stood there, frozen. Her lip trembled. "Take 5, the assistant director called out. Everyone moved away, giving her space. But Keanu didn't move. Stepped toward her. No cameras. Now, no audience. Just him and her. "Come here," he said gently. She walked into his arms like a broken thing. And when he held her, she didn't pretend anymore. She cried. She cried so hard her whole body shook. Keanu didn't say anything for a while. He just let her cry. Then he whispered, "You're allowed to be human, Anna." That one sentence felt like a lifeline. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't poetic. But it was exactly what she needed. "Do you want to stop for the day?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. I want to try again. But stay close." Keanu smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." When they tried the scene again, Keanu stood just behind the camera. Anna looked at him once before starting, and something changed. She wasn't alone anymore. This time when the scene began, she let it out. All of it. The scream. The tears. The grief. It wasn't acting. It was truth. Raw and painful and beautiful. When it ended, the entire set was silent. The director wiped his eyes. The crew clapped softly. Even the boom mic operator had tears, but Anna didn't hear any of it. She walked off the set, straight into Keanu's arms. He hugged her tightly, then leaned down and said the words that would stay with her forever. "You gave us something real today. Thank you for being brave." She didn't speak. She just nodded against his shoulder, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a little lighter, because someone had seen her, because someone had cared. Because someone, Keanu Reeves, held her hand when everything was falling apart and never let go. After that scene, everything changed. People on set looked at Anna differently. Not with pity, but with respect. Something real had come through the camera that day. Everyone felt it. Even the director, who was usually tough and impatient, walked up to her and simply said, "That was brave." But Anna didn't feel brave. She felt exposed, like a door had opened inside her. Now everyone could see what was behind it. She sat alone during lunch, picking at her food. The noise around, her laughter, footsteps, the clatter of silverware felt far away. She didn't want attention. She didn't want people asking if she was okay. Keanu walked by with his plate, noticed the empty seat beside her, and asked, "May I?" Anna nodded. He sat without saying much, just started eating. Normal, easy, quiet. After a few minutes, he spoke. "You don't have to carry guilt, you know." She looked up sharply. "What?" "I saw the obituary in the Cuban paper." "Your father?" I didn't say anything. I didn't want to intrude. Anna's eyes filled again. "I couldn't go. They wouldn't let me. They said the schedule was too tight. The studio said they'd lose money if I left." Keanu didn't look surprised. He just nodded slowly. "This industry forgets that we're human." Anna put down her fork. He used to call me every week. He'd tell me how proud he was. He never cared about movies. But he always said, "Mia, just be kind. That's what makes you beautiful." Keanu smiled softly. He sounds like a wise man. Anna looked down. "I wish he'd seen me act just once." "Really act, he did?" Keanu said quietly. "Yesterday. Through you." The words settled deep in her chest. That afternoon, they filmed a lighter scene. Laughter between characters. Playful teasing. Anna felt numb, but Keanu kept her steady. Between takes, he would crack a small joke, just for her, out loud. Not for the crowd. Just enough to lift her eyes. Just enough to make her smile for real, but not everyone was happy. One of the producers pulled Anna aside later. He spoke in a low voice, but his words were sharp. "We can't afford delays, Anna. The crying thing, very powerful, but let's not make it a habit. People talk." Anna stood still. "I'm doing my best." "Your best needs to stay professional," he said, then walked off. Keanu saw her standing there after, stiff arms crossed. She didn't say anything, but he knew. "Don't let them shrink you," he said gently. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Then be scared," he said. "But still show up. That's strength." The next few days were quiet but powerful, and Keanu worked side by side. They weren't just acting anymore, they were building trust. Scenes that would have been simple came alive with emotion. Even the extras started noticing. Crew members would whisper, "Did you see the way she looked at him?" But it wasn't romance. Not like that. It was something deeper. On the 5th night, after a long shoot, Keanu invited Anna to join him for dinner at a small, quiet diner away from the city. No fans, cameras. Just two people. They sat in a corner booth, eating pancakes and drinking tea. Anna finally spoke about the thing she hadn't told anyone. "My mom wanted me to quit acting. She said it would break me. I told her I'd be fine. But sometimes I wonder, maybe she was right." Keanu leaned back, thoughtful. "My sister once told me something. She said we don't do this because it's easy. We do it because truth matters." Anna looked at him. "What if it costs too much, and we decide what's worth the cost?" He said. "Not just an actress, Anna. You're a mirror. People see themselves in you, and that's powerful." Her eyes watered, but this time she didn't cry. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Of course. I didn't know how kind you were. Everyone talks about you like some legend, but you're just you," Keanu chuckled. "Just a guy who's messed up a lot and tries to do better." "You make it easier to breathe," Anna said softly. He looked at her, not with pity, not with awe, but with quiet understanding. "You don't need to be perfect," he said, "just honest." They left the diner as the night breeze wrapped around them like a soft coat. For a moment, Anna looked up at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Papa." Keanu didn't ask. He just walked beside her, hands in his pockets. Like a guardian in silence. but the peace wouldn't last. The next morning, news broke. A photo of Keanu and Anna from the diner had leaked. It was taken from across the street, blurry but clear enough. Tabloids ran wild. Secret romance on set. Keanu and Anna love, behind the scenes. The headlines twisted everything. Anna panicked. Her phone buzzed all morning. Her agent. Studio? Her mother died on set. Everyone stared, whispered suddenly. Kindness turned into rumors, and as the day dragged on, Anna felt the walls closing in again. During a break, she sat on the edge of the soundstage, legs dangling, looking lost. Keanu walked up slowly. It'll pass. She didn't look at him. They'll think it's true. They'll think I used you. Keanu sat beside her. Let them think. We know what's real. Anna wiped her eyes. But it's not fair. I was just starting to feel safe. You still are, he said. No, it's not anymore. Keanu thought for a moment. Then said something she didn't expect. Come with me. Where? Somewhere quiet. Anna followed him out of the studio, through the parking lot, and into a small garden behind the building. It was hidden, with a single bench under a tree. Birds chirped. Sunlight touched the leaves. No one was around. They sat down. This is where I go when it gets too loud, Keanu said. Anna looked around. It's beautiful. It's yours now, too. She smiled, just a little. They sat in silence. Then she whispered, Will it always be this hard? Keanu looked at her, then nodded slowly. Probably. She laughed through her tears. That's not very comforting. But it's honest, he said. The hard parts make the good parts mean more. Anna leaned her head on his shoulder. Then I guess I'll stay, he nodded. Good, 'cause you're stronger then. You know? And in that quiet garden, away from cameras, away from noise, two souls found peace. Not in perfection, not in fame, but in honesty, in kindness, and in the simple act of showing up for one another. The next few days were quiet but heavy. Anna tried to keep her head down. She smiled on set, hit her marks, spoke her lines, and nodded when people spoke. But inside, she felt like she was holding her breath every second. The photo scandal hadn't faded yet. Tabloids kept spinning new stories, showed fake timelines, created drama out of nothing, and dragged both her and Keanu through the mud. And the worst part? The studio said nothing. No support, no protection, just silence. Keanu, though, stayed close. Not in a loud or dramatic way, just in the way he always did. He showed up. He brought her tea. He walked with her between scenes. He checked in without pushing. But even he could tell something inside Anna was breaking again. One morning, the director called for a scene change. Keanu's character had to run through rain, barefoot, chased by a memory. It wasn't scripted that way originally, but they wanted more rawness, more pain, more suffering. Anna stared at the call sheet. I'm barefoot the whole time. The assistant director shrugged. It's what the director wants now. Ain't a bitter. Lip, the street they were filming on was full of sharp gravel and uneven pavement. And no one cared. Not really. Keanu walked up beside her, looked at the page, then looked at her face. We can talk to them, he said gently. They won't change it, Anna whispered. They might if I say something, and then they'll say I'm hiding. Behind you, she said, voice low, full of fear. Keanu hesitated, then said, I won't speak for you unless you ask. She nodded. I'll try. When the time came to shoot, Anna stepped onto the cold pavement. Rain machines poured icy water down. Everyone was in place. The director shouted, Action. Anna ran. She ran hard, eyes wide, heart pounding. The rain hit her face like needles. Her feet tore against the gravel. She didn't cry because of the acting. She cried because of the pain. Real pain. The cameras kept rolling. The director kept shouting. Again. She ran again. Again. Her feet bled. Keanu watched, fists clenched, jaw tight. Finally, he stepped forward. Cut, he said, voice firm. The director blinked. Are you doing? She's bleeding, Keanu said. It looks great on camera, the director said. We're almost done. No, Keanu said calmly. She's done. Anna stood in the rain, body trembling, lips blue. She couldn't speak. But when Keanu stepped toward her and reached out his hand, she took it without hesitation. They walked off the set together. Behind them, the crew stood silent. Later that night, Anna sat in her trailer, feet bandaged, hands wrapped around a warm mug. Keanu sat across from her. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. "Yes, I did," he replied. "They might fire you," she whispered. "Then they'll have to." She looked up, eyes shining. "Why do you care so much?" Leaned forward. "'Cause someone should have stood up for me once. When I was younger, no one did. I promised myself, if I ever saw someone else go through that, I wouldn't stay silent." Anna's breath caught. "What happened to you?" He hesitated, then told her. "First big movie. I was 19. I got hurt doing a stunt my knee. I told the director, but he said, we need one more take. So I did it. Tore something, had to get surgery after. No one visited. No one called. And when I healed, they replaced me anyway." Anna stared at him. "But you're Keanu Reeves." He smiled sadly. "I wasn't always." They sat in silence for a long time. "You don't talk about your past much," she said. "Because it's full of shadows," he replied. "But every shadow needs light." Anna looked down. "Maybe we're each other's light right now." He reached out, gently placed his hand over hers, maybe. But the next day brought another twist. The producer who warned Anna before came storming into the dressing room. "What was that yesterday?" he barked. "You walked off in the middle of a scene?" Anna stood up. "I was injured. Could have waited till we got the shot." Keanu stepped between them, calm but firm. "You crossed a line." The producer glared at him. "You don't run this place, Reeves." "Maybe not," Keanu replied. "But I know abuse when I see it." Anna trembled. She felt exposed again. Producer turned back to her. "Do you want to keep working in this town, Anna? Because this kind of behavior makes you difficult." Keanu's voice cut through. "She's not difficult. She's honest. And she deserves better." The room fell quiet. Anna looked at the producer, voice steady. "You don't get to scare me anymore." And just like that, something shifted inside her. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was standing. The next few days were rough. Rumors swirled again. Meetings happened behind closed doors. The director stopped speaking to Anna. Some of the crew acted cold. Others nodded at her in quiet support. Keanu stayed calm through it all. "When people are used to silence," he told her, "truth feels like rebellion." Anna smiled. "Then let's be rebels." One evening, they were called to the studio office, the big one. The one where all decisions were made. Anna's heart pounded as she walked in, Keanu beside her. Inside sat two executives. Serious, older. "Expensive suits, Anna," one of them said. "We've had some concerns." "I'm aware," she replied. "We've reviewed everything. We believe it's best to delay your scenes for now. Give you some time to rest." Anna's stomach dropped. "Are you cutting me from the film?" "Not officially, but we're considering a rewrite." Keanu stood. "I'd like to speak." The executives frowned. "This doesn't concern you." "Yes, it does," he said calmly. "Remove her." "I walk too." Silence. One of the men cleared his throat. "Keanu, be reasonable." "I am," he said. "I've never seen an actress give more. She's honest, brave, and she's the heart of this story. If you take her out, you lose the soul." The room stayed still for a moment, tension thick. Then the older executive leaned back. "Fine, we'll review the footage again. Give us the weekend." Anna didn't know what to say, but as they walked out of that office, she grabbed Keanu's hand and whispered, "You didn't have to risk that." He looked at her and said, "You're worth the risk." She believed him. Because for the first time in a long time, someone had stood beside her not for fame, not for gain, but simply because it was right. The weekend felt endless. Anna couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, watching the shadows move across her ceiling. Outside, the city buzzed like nothing had happened, but inside her chest, it felt like everything was changing. Keanu texted her just before sunrise. Meet me at the garden? She didn't reply. She just got dressed, pulled on a hoodie, and walked quietly through the back door of the studio. He was already there, sitting on the old bench under the tree. He was sipping coffee, holding an extra cup in his other hand. "Don't sleep either?" she asked. "Not lately," he said, handing her the coffee. "I keep thinking about what matters most." She took a sip. It was warm, comforting, steady. "You think they'll cut me?" she asked. He looked at her. "I think they're scared of me." "Of truth," he said, "of anyone who won't stay quiet." They sat in silence, birds waking around. Them, morning light starting to rise. Then Anna said something she hadn't told anyone, not even herself. "I don't know if I belong here anymore." Keanu didn't answer right away. He waited, thought carefully, then said, "You belong wherever your heart is full. If it's not here, we'll find another place." "We?" he smiled. "Yeah, I'm not walking away from you." Anna looked down at her coffee, heart full and confused. She whispered, "Why are you like this?" Keanu chuckled softly. "You ever seen someone drown in front of you?" She looked up, startled. "When I was a teenager," he said, "I saw a kid fall into a frozen river. The ice cracked. Screaming, trying to hold on, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. By the time someone jumped in, it was too late." Anna stared at him, quiet. "I promised myself," he continued, "that if I ever saw someone slipping again, I'd jump, even if it scared me. But that was different." "No," Keanu interrupted gently. "Pain is pain. Fear is fear. People still drown, just in different ways." Anna looked at him, like she was seeing him for the first time again. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "No," he replied. "But maybe the world owes you a little grace. No, I'm here to deliver some." She wiped her eyes, then laughed quietly. No, you sound like a poet." "Nah," he said with a grin. "It's just a guy with old wounds and good coffee." Monday arrived. With a tension that everyone could feel, the studio had finished. Reviewing the footage, Anna and Keanu were called into the conference room again. The air was thick, heavy, too quiet. The older executive stood, folder in hand. "We've made a decision." Anna's hands trembled under the table. He looked at her directly. "We reviewed your scenes again. We realized something we didn't see before." She didn't breathe. "Your performance. It's the heartbeat of this film. It's raw, fearless, unforgettable." She blinked. "So, you're staying," he said. "We won't change a thing." Anna sat back in her chair, the weight lifting off her chest like a wave rolling back into the sea. "Thank you," she whispered. The executive nodded. "We were wrong to question it, and we're sorry." Keanu placed his hand gently on her shoulder. The storm had passed, but something else had started because word spread. People on set noticed. Crew members whispered that Anna had stood up for herself and won. Keanu had backed her and refused to let go. Quiet strength had rippled through the studio. One by one, people began sharing their stories. A young intern came up to Anna near the lighting rigs. "Thank you," she said, shy but sincere. "You made me feel like I can speak up too." And older makeup artist hugged her tightly backstage. "We've all had moments," she whispered, "but not all of us had someone like Keanu to walk beside us." Anna felt something growing, not fame, not applause, something real, a community. Even the director approached her, eyes softer than before. "I was hard on you," he said. "Too hard. You taught me something." Anna nodded slowly. "Thank you for saying that." He paused. "I'd like to add a new scene, something just for your character, something that shows everything she's been through." I now looked at him. "I'd like that." The next day they filmed it, a quiet moment. Her character, alone in a house, sitting by a window. Just light and silence and emotion. The camera stayed on her face for over a minute. Anna gave everything pain, hope, healing, and when the scene ended, no one moved. Keanu was the first to clap, softly, slowly, and everyone joined in. But even in that joy, Anna felt something else rising. Inside her, something unfinished. That night, as she sat with Keanu under the stars, she said, "Can I ask you something hard?" Anything. How do you forgive people who hurt you? He was quiet for a long time by remembering who I am, he said finally. Not who they tried to make me. Anna nodded slowly. I want to learn how to do that. You're already doing it, he said. Every day you choose to show up with kindness. That's forgiveness. She smiled, tears in her eyes. You always know the right thing to say. It's not always, he replied. But with you it feels easier. As the days passed, something beautiful began to bloom. The studio changed their tone. They promised better treatment for everyone. They hired counselors, created new protocols. People felt heard, and it all started with one moment. One girl who broke down and yelled down. One man who held her hand. But just when everything seemed to be healing, Anna got a call that shook her again. It was her mother, Mia. Her voice trembled. They vandalized your father's grave. Anna dropped to the floor. What? She whispered. Someone painted words. Cruel words. Tabloids took photos. They said you forgot your roots. They blamed you. Anna's whole world spun. Even the dead weren't safe. She hung up and stared at the wall, numb. Then she texted Keanu, "Need you." He was there in minutes. She couldn't speak. She just showed him the picture on her phone, the grave, the paint. Keanu took her hand and said one word. Let's go. Go where? She asked. To him. But I already booked the flight, he said. And in that moment, Anna knew, ... He wasn't just holding her hand anymore. He was helping her find her way home. The flight to Cuba was quiet. Anna sat by the window, forehead resting against the glass, eyes watching clouds pass below. The sun was rising, but inside her chest, it still felt dark. Keanu sat beside her, reading a book. He didn't speak unless she did. He just sat close enough for her to feel him there, solid, steady, present. When the plane landed, the warm, humid air hit them like a wave. The smell of salt, street food, and old city stone filled their senses. It was familiar. It was home. But it hurt. They rode in silence to her mother's small house in Havana. The front door creaked open before they even knocked. Her mother stood in the doorway, tears in her eyes. Her arms opened and Anna ran into them like a child again. Mia, her mother whispered, "You came back." Anna held her tightly. "I'm sorry it took so long." Keanu stood respectfully. A few steps back, her mother looked at him, wiped her eyes and smiled. "You must be the kind man I keep hearing about." Keanu nodded gently. "Thank you for having me." They went inside. The house was small but filled with memories, photos, candles, old books, and laughter that lived in the walls even when no one spoke. Her mother poured coffee. They sat at the table. "They painted the words 2 days ago," she said quietly. People saw. Some shook their heads. Others defended you. Anna looked down. "What did it say?" Her mother hesitated. "It said, ... She forgot him, Anna." Closed her eyes. Keanu reached under the table and gently took her hand. "They don't know," she whispered. "They don't know what it cost me to stay." Her mother reached across the table and touched her cheek. "He knew. Your papa knew." Anna opened her eyes. "I want to go to him now." They left a few minutes later. The graveyard was quiet, full of wind and tall trees. The grave was toward the back, under an old tree. As they walked closer, Anna stopped. She saw it. The white stone smeared with red paint. The words, cruel, false. Loud, she fell to her knees. Keanu stood behind her in silence. Anna took a cloth from her bag and began wiping the paint. Her hands shook. Her breath came hard. Her mother tried to help, but Anna shook her head. "I need to do this." She scrubbed until her fingers bled, and then she collapsed, resting her head against the stone. "Papa," she whispered, "I didn't forget you. I didn't know how to come home with all this pain." Keanu stepped forward, pulled a small flower from his pocket, and placed it beside the grave. It was simple, yellow, bright. "He sees you," Keanu said gently. "Even now." Turn to him, How do you always know what to say? He knelt beside her. Because I know grief. I've sat beside it. I've learned the only way through it is to tell the truth. Anna closed her eyes and whispered, I'm sorry. Papa? The wind blew softly like an answer. Later that evening, back at her mother's home, Anna sat on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, watching the streetlights flicker. Keanu brought her tea. Thank you for coming with me, she said. Thank you for letting me? Do you ever miss someone so much it hurts to breathe? Every day, he answered. They sat together, listening to the city hum. My father used to sit out here with me, Anna said. He'd tell me stories about the stars. He said they were memories from people who loved us. Keanu smiled. He sounds like a poet. He was a mechanic, she said, laughing softly. But he spoke like one. Keanu looked at her gently. You speak like one too. The next morning, they visited a small community center her father used to volunteer at. Kids ran around, laughing. An old woman hugged Anna tightly. Your papa used to fix our lights. He brought us fruit every Sunday. You are his light now. Anna smiled, tears rising again. Not from pain, but pride. Before they left Cuba, she asked Keanu to go somewhere else with her. They drove to the coast. To a cliff her father once took her to every year on her birthday. As they stood at the edge, the ocean roaring below, she said, I want to do something. She pulled a small letter from her pocket, old folded many times. I wrote this to him the day he died, but I never sent it. Would you like me to step away? Keanu asked. No, stay. She read it out loud, voice trembling. Dear Papa, I hope you are proud. I'm trying. I know I wasn't there. I know I made choices that hurt. But every step I take, I carry your voice, your laugh, your love. I miss you. I love you. I will never forget you. Then she folded it again, placed it in a small glass jar, dropped it into the sea. They watched it float and fade and disappear. Goodbye. Cuba, she whispered as Keanu wrapped his arm around her shoulders. They stood there for a long time, just breathing. Back in Los Angeles, everything looked different. Same city, same set, but Anna wasn't the same. She walked onto the studio lot with her head high. Crew members smiled at her, extras waved. Even the cold producer gave her a small nod. Keanu walked beside her as always. The new scene they were filming was the last one of the movie. It was a quiet goodbye scene between their characters. No music, just emotion. The camera rolled. Anna's character stepped forward, looked at Keanu's character, and said the line, "Thank you for staying when I couldn't even stand." Keanu looked at her eyes, full of truth, and replied, "You were standing the whole time. I just helped you see it." When the director shouted cut, everyone clapped, but Keanu didn't break character right away. He stepped forward, took Anna's hand for real, not as an actor, not as a partner on set, but as someone who had walked through the fire with her. He looked her in the eyes and said, "You're more than brave, Anna. You're becoming free." Anna didn't speak. She just smiled, because for the first time in months, she finally believed it too. The film wrapped 2 weeks later. The final shot was a sunset scene on the rooftop of a building downtown. Anna and Keanu stood side by side, their characters facing the horizon. There were no words in the script, just silence, shared peace, and the soft light of day ending. When the director said cut for the last time, the crew applauded. Some cheered. Others wiped their eyes. Anna looked around the set. It's the same place where she had once felt broken, small, unsure. Now it felt like sacred ground. Like every painful step had led her here for a reason, Keanu stood beside her, quiet as always. He never needed a spotlight. He never tried to outshine anyone. Somehow, that made him shine the most. They hugged tightly. "You did it?" he whispered. "We did," Anna replied. After the final wrap, party simple, joyful, full of laughter and soft music, Anna sat alone for a moment on the empty soundstage. The lights were dim now. The cameras were packed. Only echoes remained. She pulled out her phone and opened a message from her mother. "Your papa would be proud." You didn't run from the storm, you walked through it. Tears filled her eyes again, but they were different now. Not from fear, not from pain. They were soft, peaceful, like the tears that come when a soul finally exhales. Keanu walked over and sat beside her. "Remember what you said to me on the plane?" she asked. "Remind me." He said, "Healing isn't found in a place, it's found in the person who refuses to let go." He smiled. "I remember." "Thank you for refusing," she said. He looked at her, serious but kind. "You would have made it through even without me." "Maybe," she said, "but I would have felt more alone." He nodded slowly. "And you never have to feel that way again." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Keanu asked, "What's next?" Anna thought about it. Hollywood would keep calling, scripts would come, awards might follow, but she knew none of it meant anything if she lost herself. "In the process, I want to make something real," she said. "Not just act. I want to produce stories that matter, stories that help people feel seen." Keanu smiled. "That sounds perfect. And I want to visit my father's grave every year. Not out of guilt, out of love." He placed his hand over hers. "And when you go, I'll be right there." She laughed softly. "You really are like a lighthouse, you know?" "How so?" "You don't chase the storm. You just shine so others can find their way." He looked down, a little embarrassed. "I've been lost before to Anna." "Yeah," she said, "but you helped me find home. Inside myself." Months passed. The film premiered at an international festival. Got a long-standing ovation. People cried in the theater. Critics called it honest, transformational, and unlike anything they had seen in years. But the best review came from a quiet woman in the crowd who waited after the screening. She held Anna's hand and said, "Your story helped me stand up to someone who kept me silent." "Thank you," Anna cried with her. Not because she felt proud, but because she finally understood the point of everything. Not fame, not success, just truth, just kindness, just choosing to be human in a world that often forgets how Anna and Keanu kept in touch. Not as co-stars, not as celebrities, but as two. People who had shared something sacred. They still met for coffee, still sat in quiet gardens, still reminded each other that healing was a daily choice. One afternoon, during a small interview, a young reporter asked Anna, "What's the most important moment of your career so far?" She paused, thought about awards, red carpets, premieres. Then she smiled. "The moment I broke down during filming?" And Keanu held my hand and said, "You're allowed to be human." The reporter looked surprised. "Why that moment?" she asked. "Because it taught me the most important thing," Anna said. "That strength isn't loud, it's quiet. Someone sitting beside you when you feel like you can't breathe. It's kindness. It's being seen." And the world listened. Not because the words were flashy, but because they were true. And from that moment on, Anna made every choice with one question in her heart. Does this honor who I really am? Because now she knew the answer mattered. Now she knew who she was becoming, and no one could take that away. Not the pain, not the headlines, not the past. She had lived through. She had risen from it, and she had become more than a star. She had become whole.